There were 487 price reductions this week. That's the most in a 7-day period so far this year. How's that going to affect the real estate market as we move into the fourth quarter? Stick around. Let's find out. Hello there, it's Les Solgrove. This is Simply Des Moines Market Values for week 39. And the theme this week is change. I love change. Anybody that knows me, I do love change. The industry is really going through a lot of challenges here this last year, couple of years, several years. And I thought what I'd do this week is kind of give a real quick industry overview of kind of how we got here and some of the challenges we've seen the last few, several years. And just keep it really, really short and then jump into some major changes we've seen this past week in the real estate market. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So as an overview, we're not immune and not unfamiliar with changes in the real estate industry because back in 2008, of course, that was the subprime mortgage market with stock market collapse, housing bubble, collapse of mortgage-backed securities, recession, unemployment. 2020, we experienced COVID-19 pandemic. Working from home began. Real estate was an essential business and allowed to continue to work. Interest rates were at the lowest points ever. Just this past year, 2023 and into 2024, we have gone through a major antitrust lawsuit at the national level with landmark verdicts and penalties. With $5+ billion in damages, NAR was able to settle their portion for 418 million, which is going to be paid out over 4 years. A lot of things have happened, and a lot of things, as you all know, offers of compensation have been removed from the MLS. We've had to start using buyer agreements, which were mandatory on August 17th, but it actually came into play quicker than that for Iowa because we were able to get the Real Estate Transparency Act passed quickly, and that went into effect July 1st. As well as shortly after that, we were able to get administrative rules to allow compensation to be negotiated inside of an offer to purchase. So, uh, you know, this could be a show all in itself, but this is kind of setting the stage of where we're at today. And really, what are our challenges as we move forward here? Um, I think it's all going to be all about attitude, positive attitudes in this trend, in this world. And I saw this post yesterday on social media, and I love it because, it's the right attitude. It is the absolute best attitude for us. It says, it's literally an alternative universe for us old timers and new agents as well, I'll say. So against, you know, this person says, I'm so against everything it's so against everything that we were always taught, but it's okay. It's okay though. It's that perfect positive attitude coming through. Another member posted, with the new buyer agreements being required, I believe it's more important to offer value. What are things you offer? I want to be the best. I mean, this is where we need to get our heads instead of in the down in the dumps and complaining. Let's move forward and turn this into something positive that we can grow from. I mean, it's just certainly not going to change. We all know that there's still going to be those agents out there, regardless of what's going on in the industry. I mean, there could be a hurricane going, and there's this one agent, turning the car around. My God, we're going to go back and help that client out. That's going to continue to happen. So. Um, the biggest message today is that old ways won't open new doors, and that's so true. We have to continue to move forward and understand that we're effectively just passengers in this trip here. We're going to adapt and move forward here. So that's the positive message I'm trying to convey. Let's see how this applies to kind of what we've seen here in this last week here, week 39 of the year. So I showed you this graphic last week, but I brought it back because I did a little bit more research. Now, we did not hit that 4,000 magic number this week. We'll talk about that in a second here. But what I did was I kind of did a little bit more of analysis on kind of how this section of time happened and how it kind of affected things and how we're moving forward from that. So March 11th of 2020 to May 11th of 2023. That was the official COVID years. And during this period of time, you can kind of see, there's definitely a change in our inventory of homes. And I thought what it would be interesting to do would be to overlay the closed sales per year going back to 2009 on this particular graphic. And you can see back in 2009, we closed 8,522 homes for sale. All the way through 2012, we were under 10,000. As we got to 2013 and the next 6 or 7 years, we actually were above 10,000 closed sales all the way to 2020. Now, obviously, 2020, we closed 16,838 homes in the Central Iowa real estate market. And, if you look here, this is, the inventory was going down, just was at such a pace that we weren't able to replace our inventory. Um, and as we move into 2021, this was our all-time record so far ever, 17,844 homes closed that year. And if you look over here, that's more than double what we did back in 2009. And at the time, we had, between 5 and 6,000 homes for sale back in 2009, and we could only close 8,522 of those. Whereas today, or in 2021, we were under 3,000, and much of 2021, we were actually below 2,000 homes for sale. So it's all, the pace was just crazy. If were in the market in 2021, you know how crazy that year was there. So rounding out the rest of the numbers here, we saw a decrease in 2022, another decrease in 2023 down to 13,243. We're currently just setting just under 10,000 closed sales, which I think we'll see that probably happen next week, since the end of the month is officially Monday, and there's been a lot of closings last week and early next week that have not been recorded yet. So I think we'll probably hit that 10,000 number here in the next 2 or 3 days. But I honestly think we're going to probably end the year closed sale count pretty close to that 13,200 number like we did last year. Now, again, this is all going to change if we continue to see an increase in pending sales, which we'll also talk about here. Um, you've seen this graphic as well, and I thought it was kind of important to bring this one back this week as well. Pending sales is our indicator of market pace. And again, overlaying the COVID years, you can see right here that we were in this what we called an inverted market. That's where we had more homes under contract and in the closing process than we had homes for sale. It really, really, exaggerated the pace and the activity of that period of time. And I don't think we're going to probably see an inverted market now for some time. I mean, unless home sales were to spike and inventory drop. But I think we kind of touched it a little bit last year, but I just don't think we're going to probably see an inverted market again for some time. It is something that does occur over periods of time, but not nearly to this extent like we had seen there. As far as pricing goes, now this is the pricing scale showing you the median list price or the asking price compared to the price that the homes were recorded as going under contract, not the sale price, but the price that they were recorded going under contract, and the median sale price that ultimately ended up happening when it closed here. And I want to focus on this period right here in 2022. You can see that the median list price, and this is the one that gets a lot of the attention, is the price of homes has been, pretty steady under that $300,000 price point until we got into COVID years, and it jumped up just a little bit. Surprisingly, it didn't jump much until 2022, and that's kind of when the rates kind of started to jump, and also, homeowners out there were kind of feeling like, oh, this is probably the best time, to get their homes on the market. And so this is really where we saw that jump in the median list price. And it's been consistently about $50,000 higher since 2022. And that all happened in about a year period. And you can see we've been kind of bubbling right along that $350,000 price list price point again. Um, the median sale prices per year, I've added that to this graphic as well. Um, this is the red line. This is the median sale price for the entire year. So for 2016, it was 177, 316, 186, 197. You can see it goes up and down, or up the line here as we go across the years. And below that, I've added the percent increases. So from 2016 to 2017, we saw a 5% increase in sale price, 5.7 in 2018, 6.3, and then 5.6 in 2020. And then obviously, this is the year where we saw the double-digit increase in sale price values going from 221 to 247. And this is that year where everything just really went crazy. We've settled down a little bit, 6.6% in 2022, and we're now kind of leveling back down around 4% in 2023. And currently, year to date, we're at 4.9%. You can see it's kind of all over the place here. So this is not appreciation of values. This is the actual just sale price increases year over year. And it's kind of an interesting graphic to look at and watch. Looking at this by itself, unless you start to kind of hone in on some of these little sections like I did a minute ago, it's easy to kind of just get lost in where the activity actually happened there. So when we start to go back and look at really where we are as we enter the fourth quarter, next week's show will be end of month and end of quarter stats. I may break that into two shows. It depends on how much I have to talk about. But next month, Monday, tomorrow, is the end of the month. So I will be compiling all of the end of month and end of quarter stats. But I thought I'd give you the breakdown as we sit on the edge of the last weekly report before we get into fourth quarter. And you remember I said we didn't hit that 4,000. And, it's really kind of a little bit of a surprise because you can see here the homes listed per week, the last 6 weeks or 5 or 6 weeks, we've seen an increase week over week. However, this past week in week 39, it's almost like the listing inventory, I wouldn't say it shut off because we still brought on 287 homes into the marketplace. But it also didn't continue that same pace. Had it continued that same pace, we would have definitely been in the 4,000 homes for sale category this week. So maybe it's just the last hurrah. I don't know. Everybody's back to school. Everybody's back to work. So I don't know what the cause was, why homes didn't continue that same pace. But I would say that we still have that good chance of hitting that 4,000 count if we see another surge here this coming week as we move into the fourth quarter. And I think when we get to talking here about price reductions, I think maybe that might be what might spur things along here just a little bit. As far as sale pendings, I will tell you that it does appear that the recent mortgage rate decreases have begun to spur activity. Week 39, so week 38, a week ago, I told you, I said, this is the first week that we've actually surpassed a year ago sale pending counts. And it was just by a sliver. You can kind of see, if you get close, you can kind of see a little bit of yellow right there. But this week 39, we're clearly ahead of last year's pending activity. And that's awesome. And if we look at it from the homes pended by week, so how many homes went under contract each week, it's even more evident. We brought 182 homes under contract this past week, where a year ago we were just over 150. So that's at a greater pace than what we've seen. It's happened 2 or 3 times, but not by very much. These last 2 weeks we have outpaced last year's numbers by a pretty good margin. So I think what you see here is the large credit is due to the lower mortgage interest rates that we've seen the last couple of weeks here. So how is this affecting days on market? Well, I looked at this graphic and I thought, oh, wow, days on market is still high. But that kind of makes sense if you think about it, because closed sales is a product of 6 to 8 weeks of prior activity. And so what we're seeing here is that, a lot of the older housing stock, the homes that were on the market longer, are probably now at the point starting to sell, and that's why this is starting to increase. I think that if we see an increase of new listings coming on the market and they sell quicker, then in the next 6 to 8 weeks, we'll see this number drop again. And that's kind of what we see as we move into historical views here until we get near the end of the year. So we are definitely still at a slower pace of days on market, and that's probably just going to continue a little bit as we move into the last half of the year, just because of the or last quarter of the year. As far as months of inventory, we were very, very close to not only hitting 4,000 homes for sale, but also very, very close to moving into a balanced market. And I really, really honestly thought had we hit that 4,000 homes for sale, that would have bumped us into a 4+ months in inventory, which would have turned this column here to a dark blue balanced line. Remember that the seller's market affects and favors the sellers. They have more control because there are more buyers than there are sellers. As we move into a balanced market, that's between 4 and 6 months of inventory. That's kind of the sweet spot. We would love to be in that. You can see we were in that for 3 weeks the first of the year, but have been into this seller's market all of this year just because of the slower pace of sales. It's not uncommon that we will get into the balanced market as we move forward, but I think we're going to actually hit that here in the next couple of weeks. And I still do not believe we're going to hit 6 months of inventory, which would be a buyer's market. Something drastic would have to change for that to happen, and I just don't see that happening at this point. Home sales that fell through. This is the bomb report here, and we looked 2 or 3 weeks ago. The headline was, that was like 38% of home sales fell apart or something like that. This week we only had 40 sales fall apart, which equates to a 22% bomb rate, and that's actually below last year. In fact, the last 2 weeks we've actually been behind last year's pace, which is where we want to be. We want to be below on this particular graphic. We want to be trailing last year, not beating last year, and we're doing it fine this week at 22%. But the big news and the headline of this week's show is price reductions. And man, oh man, look at this. If you take anything away from this week's show, this is the golden nugget of this week's show. Week 39, 487 price reductions. And how does that pare down? I decided I was going to do a little bit more digging on what made up that 487 homes price reduced. And it's a little harder to analyze because you can't go in and the way the MLS works, you just can't go in and pull, unless you're looking at every single listing, find out which, whether it was new construction or if it was single family. But I got to believe that, the average with the average price change coming down by $10,230, that's almost a 3% decrease in prices of these 487 homes. The ranges was the average price change was from 374.4 to 364.2, so it's just over a $10,200 price change for this past week alone. That's pretty healthy price reductions, and some of this obviously has got to be new construction, although it's at the I wouldn't say it's the beginning end, but it's still in that lower 1/3 of the new home pricing. And I don't think I've seen a lot of builders out there, doing a lot of price reductions. So this is kind of a product of a lot of home sellers saying it's time to get serious. We're getting into the fourth quarter. Let's make these cuts and get our homes under contract. 81 days was the average days on market of these homes that were price reduced. So screen capture this one, go to DesMoinesMarketValues.com and go to the show graphics. And this is one of the slides in there. I can't remember which slide it is, but you'll find it. It's in the show reports there. I'm going to finish up here with open house counts. This is not traffic. This is the number of homes being held open, both new construction and existing homes. And it's almost right up there at the year-to-date high, still above 1,200 homes being held open this weekend. So, with 3,900 homes on the market and we have 1,200, it's a third of our listing inventory out there is held open this weekend, and that's by far more than we were last year when we had 800 homes being held open on this same week here. So the last couple of slides here, again, just a reminder of how the Federal Reserve has impacted the marketplace. They've made the first change in rates in the Federal Reserve borrowing rate since July of 2023. Right over here, currently the 30-year fixed rate mortgage, this is not the Fed rate, but the 30-year fixed rate mortgage in this decade from the 2020s is currently at 5.11%. So we're right about that, almost actually pretty well matches where we're seeing mortgage interest rates locally right now. And if you were to look at the decade from the 2010 to 2020, we're really only on average about 1% higher than we were during the previous decade. However, we saw this tumultuous rise in 22 and it's coming back down. So the reason this is 5.11 is because the bulk of the so far the decade, about half the decade was closer to that 3% number there. So it's going to even out. This number will go up as we move toward the end of the year, even if it does stay around that 5%. And just a reminder, the Fed is telling us that they kind of are considering one to maybe two more additional cuts before year end, and a total of maybe 5 or 6 more in 2025. Will we see those? I don't know. I mean, they do a lot of talking and then don't follow through. We saw that in July when they didn't reduce the prime. As far as buying power, this is probably my favorite slide out of the whole group, and this is showing you that the buying power is officially higher. We have officially more buying power now this week in 2024 than we had all of last year. So the September 9th of this year, the buying power, if you based it on a $2,000 principal and interest payment on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, no taxes, no insurance, just the mortgage itself, a $2,000 principal and interest payment would fund a $330,741 mortgage, which is about $400 more than the highest point we saw in 2023. So this is fantastic news. As we see interest rates continue to drop, this number will only go up. It would be just awesome if we gave some buyers something more to hang on to and look forward to as we move into the fall market, and this would obviously help spur activity. So, all right, guys, that's the show. Please go to DesMoinesMarketValues.com. Remember, I switched out and changed the location of the show graphics. So if you have been somebody who said, I can't get into your graphics because my firewall blocks it because it must be an out-of-country server, I've fixed that. It is now available. I expect to see a lot more traffic pulling down all the graphics from each week's show. So thanks again for tuning in. Be sure and subscribe, hit that notification bell. And in the meantime, we will see you all again next week with the end of month and end of quarter show. So thanks for joining me. We'll talk to you all again next week.